Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 11, Episode 18. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being here with us this Monday, Steelersation. Dave, the Pittsburgh Steelers are 2-0 in very typical Steelers fashion. Made it closer than it had to be, but 2-0 is 2-0, so I'm a happy person, happy Steelers fan on this Monday.
Yeah, you got the win. Style points. If you're giving out style points here, probably not giving out a bunch of them, as far as yesterday's win, but look, 2-0, it's better than I'm going to go next level with you. It's better than 1-1, and it's better than 0-2. So
this is why you listen to Steelers Depot.
Look, this is why you tune into the podcast, because of this next level. No, in all seriousness, though, first time since 2017, 2-0, and now they have a chance to go 3-0. And that, if they're able to pull that off, it'd be the first time since 2010, and that team obviously went to the Super Bowl that year. So significant indeed. Once again, look, I mean, if you would have handed me that defensive stat sheet about 3 quarters into this thing, and that's all I had to go off of, I would have told you, man, they blew them out, didn't they? And that obviously wasn't the case. It came down to really, the Broncos' final possession there, and we'll get into it top to bottom here. But made us sweat a little bit on that one.
Yep. It's your classic raise your blood pressure 20 points Steelers game. They get the win, though, 26-21 over the Denver Broncos. Pittsburgh moves to 2-0. Denver falls to 0-2 on the season. Before we get into the game itself and everything that happened that made it a relatively close game, let's do some housekeeping to start. The injury report, really, Tomlin didn't even note the injury report too much. I think Cam Sutton left the game with cramping. I believe he came back at some point later in the second half. And as far as I'm aware, no other significant injuries, which is rare because week 2 was brutal around the league when it came to injuries.
Absolutely. For a second week in a row, you just look at the Twitter machine as these games are going on and think, man, pretty damn brutal. And obviously the Steelers had their share of injuries in the week 1 Monday night game against the Giants. And I always like to preface this by saying seemingly got out of the game healthy, because if I don't do that, and then we get to Tuesday and Mike Tomlin pops something on us and people will say, well, I thought you said they got out of the game healthy. I'll say seemingly healthy, and then we'll wait, because Mike Tomlin did not give us any sort of a injury rundown during his post-game press conference, and all that we have to go on was the Twitter in-game reports, and Cameron Sutton with the cramping seems to have been the only one. So keep your fingers crossed. We won't learn more until Tuesday, Mike Tomlin press conference, but so far so good.
Absolutely, yeah. I think week 2 was as bad as I've ever seen it for the league across the board. The 49ers have lost seemingly everybody, and Saquon Barkley appears to have a torn ACL. Of course, for the Broncos, Drew Lock got hurt. I think he's going to miss 2 to 6 weeks with an AC sprain in his right shoulder. So a lot of injuries across the league, and the Steelers, unfortunately, are not part of that list, at least this week. The Steelers have made one roster move. They signed offensive tackle Brandon Walton to the practice squad. I believe that came on Saturday. That was an open practice squad with Derwin Gray getting elevated earlier in the week after Stefan Wisniewski went to injured reserve. So Gray elevated, Walton to the practice squad. He is a rookie tackle out of Florida Atlantic, right? Not Florida International, Florida Atlantic?
Yeah, that sounds right.
All right, we'll take it. Anyway, he's here. He was originally signed with Buffalo Bills, had been on the tryout circuit from Kansas City and Seattle, and we'll see if he lasts, a week or two on the practice squad.
Absolutely, and I guess now the big thing we'll be watching, and look, Stefan Wisniewski was placed on IR, and I know there was a report, but it was corrected. Those kind of things don't slip by me. I called out a national report on it, and they backtracked on it and all, but it was initially reported yesterday that Wisniewski was out for the season. I mean, that very well might be the case. I mean, we don't know 100% for sure. All we know is that Mike Tomlin said it was favorable, at least initially, with Wisniewski, and he was placed on IR, which leads you to believe, okay, at some point he should be able to return during the season. Now, there is no time frame on that yet, and I doubt Mike Tomlin's going to give us anything on that moving forward here, but at least initially it does not seem like that's a season-ending pectoral injury for Wisniewski. Now, David Castro has missed the first 2 games of the season. He did not go on IR at any point here. I guess we'll keep our fingers crossed that this week might be the week. And really, with the way Kevin Dotson played in relief of both those guys, with Wisniewski and Dotson, at least according to the TV tape, might not be a reason to rush him back, but obviously if he's healthy and if he's ready to play, he should play. And I guess that will be the one that we'll watch the most here, the status of David DeCastro starting right out of the chute, probably at Wednesday's practice.
Yeah, you just wonder what that knee injury was. I'm starting to get more and more convinced that he had some sort of minor procedure because the dude hasn't practiced since, late August?
Yeah, it's been probably three Fridays ago or whatnot, and that, and I think I even said on the podcast at one point, I'm willing to bet he got a little meniscus fix there or something like that. That wouldn't surprise me right now. I don't think has anybody even seen him.
MIA.
But that would be my guess on that, and my guess, obviously, is that it's not serious, just not longer than probably another week or two, based on him not going on IR there. So we'll keep our fingers crossed. And once again, I don't know how much we're going to get out of Mike Tomlin on Tuesday concerning DeCastro. It'll probably be, we'll leave the light on him. We'll be hopeful that he works this week, but we won't really get a good true tell until Wednesday's injury report is released.
Yep, lights will be left on for DeCastro. Don't know if he's going to play. Let's get him into practice first. I mean, he's been out, hasn't even been limited for the first 2 weeks of the season. So he was inactive against the Broncos, and the Steelers had 4 other inactives to give them 5 total. So they figured out the roster rules. They got 48 active. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, I think you nailed this one.
I did get it. I probably should have got the first one. But anyway, I gave Mike Tomlin a pregame grade of A++++++++. Yeah, he got it right this time, and really wasn't, process of elimination, and had a little bit of cheating going on because as I was putting together my my pregame inactive projections, Anthony McFarland tweeted out something that led one to believe that he would get a helmet on Sunday, and he indeed did. He didn't play any snaps, but really the only question I think going into this one was it going to be Anthony McFarland, or who was the other one? Kind of stuck with
Seth Gentry or UG3.
Yeah, those other guys were the only ones where the question mark may have been there. But McFarland was up, and as you mentioned, DeCastro down, Dobbs down, Davis down, Gentry down. And your buddy, your boy UG3, I don't know what's going on there, other than the fact that you got Marcus Allen, a little bit more of an experienced, a little bit more position flexible guy that also gives you some special teams burn. And then when you got a guy in Robert Spillane, who's probably the single best special teams player, at least from the linebacking position goes, that probably makes it a little bit tougher on UG3 to get a helmet. So I don't know if we should read too much into it outside of just not enough helmets to go around for some of these linebackers / safeties, if you will.
Seeing Gentry down, though, was a bit of a surprise with Connor healthy and the other running backs available. Snell, Samuels, to see McFarland get the head over Gentry, and then, of course, McFarland doesn't play a single snap, was a little surprising, but this appears to be, at least potentially, the status quo as long as his team stays healthy.
Not looking good for that kid, is it? And look, make no mistake about it. The two Steelers starting tight ends, Eric Ebron and Vance McDonald, have been anything but great when it comes to blocking so far.
Mm-hmm.
And, obviously Gentry, his rookie season, that wasn't great either when it came to his portion of the game. And then him not being a dynamo on special teams is hurting his cause. So, yeah, it's not looking great when it comes to Gentry. Now, will he get a helmet at some point here during this season? Probably, and it probably due to some sort of attrition. These things kind of work themselves out that way. But out of the chute, not a positive for a second-year player there.
No, but I don't.
Really, two of them in UG3 as well.
Sure, but I do not expect Vance and Ebron to play all 16 games this season. So I think at some point the door will open for Gentry. How wide that door opens, we'll find out. All right, Dave, let's get into this game. Steelers, again, win this one 26-21. It should have been a much bigger win for Pittsburgh. They let Denver hang around. They get back into the game, and it takes a 4th and 2 sack by Tyrell Edmonds to kind of really seal the deal, followed up by James Conner, 59-yard run to literally seal the deal in the game's final snaps. Let's start with the defense since we did the offense in week 1 against the Giants. And on paper, as you said, Dave, this looks like it should have been a blowout. 7 sacks, 2 takeaways, a safety, which came just off of a drop punt by the Broncos punter, Sam Martin. But again, while this defense was not perfect and there were penalties and maybe the secondary and coverage wasn't as strong as it could have been, should have been, I go back to the MO of I think great defenses in the NFL today are ones who get pressure on the quarterback, take the football away, and win situational football. And I think overall the Steelers did all 3 of those things against Denver.
Man, 7 sacks, 19. It seemed like almost every play they were for a while there they were hitting the quarterback. 19 quarterback hits. You had the Joe Hayden interception. You had the forced fumble, by on the strip sack by Bud Dupree. You had 6 passes defensed. I mean, they lit up the stat sheet defensively. But they still, they could, the biggest thing that sticks out is one stat that, that's not really a defensive stat. And that's obviously penalties there. A couple of key defensive penalties, especially in the second half of this game, allowed the Broncos to extend drives. And it seemed like right after these penalties happened, other big plays would happen on top of it. And they could not rebound from shooting themselves in their own foot. Now, were a couple of these penalties questionable? Certainly a couple of pass interference penalties in the fourth quarter there. At least as far as the TV tape goes, yes. We'll take a closer look at these things when the like the one on Edmonds. We'll take a closer look at that when the All-22 comes out. But you got to find a way to overcome those, and you got to find a way to not have those penalties. A couple of those pass interference penalties. Minka, Hayden. I think were right calls there. I think those were a little bit earlier in the game there. But those kind of penalties could have ended up being difference makers in this game, and especially the one on Edmonds, because that one came on a 3rd down play.
Mm-hmm.
On top of there, and now obviously would the Broncos have been in four down territory there? Probably, but it ended up being a big penalty nonetheless. So, that even though we're rattling through all the stat sheet here when it comes to the defensive stats here, you can't overlook the penalty one. That's for sure.
For sure, yeah. Unfortunately, they filled up the stat sheet when it came to pass interference and other penalty calls. I think 5 or 6 total penalties on the Steelers defense. 4 of them, I believe, were pass interference spread around between Joe Hayden and Edmonds, and some were more questionable than others. The Edmonds PI, that was clearly PI. I don't think there's really a good case against that one. You can argue some other calls by the officials, but overall, this team's got to play cleaner. There's no question about that.
The late hit, too, on Mike Hilton. Kind of ticky-tack, but they're going to try to protect them quarterbacks a little bit, I think. And
he did launch. At first, I thought it was ticky-tack, but he did leave his feet. So that to the letter, that's a fair call.
And then wasn't the very next play the touchdown to Fant against Bush in coverage? Wasn't that the progression there?
That sounds about right. I can try to double-check it, but yeah. Just let Denver extend drives and obviously move the football through penalties so much, and it was costly. And that was one of the reasons why Denver got back in this game, and one play after the Hilton roughing the passer, which would have been a 3rd and 10, And now it's 1st and 10 at 20, and then Driscoll hits Fan for 20-yard touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, what a that was a huge sequence there, because if you stop them on that third down, then they probably kicked a field goal, right?
What was the score at that point? What was the score at that point?
Oh, I'll have to rewind in my head here, but let's see. That was
and it was 17-6, so 17-9, make it one possession. But depending on down and distance,
it was in the end of the third quarter there, I think. So they probably would have taken the field goal there, the sure points, because it would have been a yeah. Wait, when did that penalty happen? No, the roughing the passer was on a 2nd and 10.
Right. Yeah, I'm saying it would have set up their intent. If they gotten to stop there, they probably kicked the field goal. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I mean that a big chunk play off of a penalty like that, followed turn around by a big play for the touchdown on top of it. Definitely swung the momentum in the game, that's for sure. And this defense, on top of everything else, as good as they were, gave up how many? Let's see, 5 explosive plays of 20 yards or more. I mean, that's uncharacteristic. Now, a couple of those, I think, came in the first quarter there and weren't as damaging. I think another one came in the second quarter, the 45-yarder that I think Sutton beat Hayden down the right side with there. But you got to watch these explosive plays, and obviously that touchdown to Noah Fant was one of 20 yards as well too.
In the run defense, not nearly as strong as it was against the Giants. Melvin Gordon peeled off a couple of nice runs. I thought Denver did a good job on the backside. Some of the combo blocks of being able to move defensive linemen into linebackers. Gordon showed good vision. The Broncos did a much better job than New York of protecting against backside. They were blocking Dupree or Watt backside, so they couldn't fly down the line and make plays in the backfield, and that actually kind of forced the Steelers to play in their base defense a lot more in the second half, even against a lot of 11 personnel, to try to protect themselves against a run. So Denver was able to stay on schedule a little bit more, have certainly more success with their run game than what the Giants did, and that just kind of helped them have more balance, especially after losing Drew Lock.
I thought they also did a lot better job with their motion, of widening the Steelers defense on some of those runs, There
was one play where Vince went with the motion, and that just let the cutback lane for Gordon to run for like 17, 20 yards.
Was that the one where Dupree crashed down off of the edge pretty hard?
This was, I think, in the second half. I don't know if that's that particular one, but it might have been. I'm not quite sure.
But I noticed that they were doing a lot better jobs, and as you mentioned, with more of the backside one cut, backside runs, they were able to gash, they were able to clear out a lot better the Steelers defensive line when it came to that, and you saw a lot of the secondary guys having to make tackles, in this a lot more than obviously you did in the opener against the Giants against the run there, and they were able to probably stay on schedule a lot better. Well, obviously a lot better than the Steelers offense was able to. I got to say this, when Locke went out early, man, I thought that's it, man. That is it. Especially the way they were getting pressure and hitting Driscoll throughout the game, moving forward into the rest of the first half and on obviously into the third quarter there, but you got to tip your hat to Driscoll, man.
He's a tough dude.
He is. He took a lot of shots and he really hung in there, and he made a lot of good throws in that game. So I think they're going to be obviously not great situation, not losing your starting quarterback, but I thought he played. Because I didn't think he was going to make it, to be quite honest with you. But he got him into that third quarter. He basically had them one play away from winning that football game there. Now, he looked as lost could be on that final sack. He just did not process that at all on what to do on the Edmonds sack there late there. But I thought Driscoll really played a good game. And once again, you got to counterbalance here the way this defense had the pressures and the hits, and look, they were still swarming to the football quite a bit. I thought the defense did a good job in that, but as good as those hits and sacks and pressures and all were, they easily got counterbalanced by the explosive plays and the penalties.
Sure, and those are definitely areas that have to be cleaned up. Mike Tomlin addressed that after the game, but I just think it comes down to offenses will move the football. I mean, you're not going to pitch shutouts. They're going to get some explosive plays. That's just the way the game's kind of tilted these days. But you get, of course, the 4th and 2 sack that sealed that one, and then you got another turnover in the red zone fringe on the 25, which was a Dupree forced fumble. So you're seeing like back-to-back weeks where you're seeing red zone or close to red zone takeaways. Obviously, the 19-play drive against the Giants last week. And then you have the Dupree forced fumble yesterday against Denver. So you're getting direct possessions where you're preventing points from going on the football or going on the board against your Steelers defense. And I think those are turning points in the game when you're talking. Obviously, the 19-play drive was a turning point last week, and the Dupree forced fumble was huge early in that one to prevent points from going on the board. So you're seeing this defense, I still think, play well situationally, and to me, that's the number one mark of a defense in today's NFL.
All right, position group by position group. The outside linebackers, I thought, didn't notice Highsmith as much or Denier in this one as much, obviously, and they only played a handful of snaps each. More than anything with Highsmith, just saw him run into the ball very well, which is obviously seemingly was a good trait of his coming out of college anyway there. Dupree and Watt, however, just fantastic again. You had a feeling that that Watt was going to wear that kid as a hat most of the game, most of the game over there at right tackle, and he did. That wasn't overly surprising at all. Dupree, huge as you stated, forced fumble. In there, kind of cleaning up what Watt couldn't get, with the quarterback slipping away from Watt there. But Dupree a solid game, Watt a good game. The more you work towards the interior of the line, kind of quiet overall, I think you'd say from Tuitt and Hayward, right?
A little so, but they got, again, a lot of pressure. Some of those were super close. I thought Hayward really had his way with the rookie Lloyd Cushenberry. I think Alualu got the sack off of him, but Hayward had at least 2 times where he just bull rushed Cushenberry into the quarterback's lap. So I think you're taking advantage of the last 2 weeks of some centers who are either not centers with the Giants, with Nick Gates, who's a former tackle that got kicked inside, or a rookie like Cushenberry. So I thought overall the Steelers have really beat up on some centers that are trying to find their way.
Yeah, Alualu, another decent game. A couple times against the run, not so good. I don't think. This was a nice game by Alualu, but probably not as strong as his game in Week 1 against the Giants.
Yeah, probably not as strong, but really just because of how dominant he was. I thought Week 1, I thought Week 2 was still pretty good, and to get that sack, I mean, that dude has found the fountain of youth. I don't know what the secret is, but I mean, that dude looks like he's 23 years old.
Yeah, I mean, he was there. Now, granted, just because I said it wasn't as good as Week 1, he still had a nice game. 33 going on 23. It looked at one point there, and really back to back. Didn't he have the sack and then the batted down pass that was almost intercepted there? Yep. So that that's really where he stood out in that game, especially in that one series. There was with the sack and then followed it up with the pass breakup there.
TJ Watt, by the way, 37 career sacks. That moves him into 9th all-time on Steelers history. That's since sacks became official in 82. The dude's 25 years old in his 4th year. He is 9th all-time in Steelers sacks. That is an absurd start to a career.
$30 million if he stays healthy this year.
Dupree, $20 million. He's making the case for it.
He certainly is. He certainly is. He's really come on these last couple seasons here. He really has looked good.
For the off-ball linebackers with Vince Williams, who gave up a touchdown to Melvin Gordon. Now, that was a great throw and catch by the Denver Broncos involved. And then Devin Bush was having some trouble with Noah Fant in the second half. So I don't want to say either of those guys were awful. I thought they did well against the run. Bush got a pressure, came close to a sack. But in coverage, I think Denver won the day.
Yeah, those two definitely play downhill better than they do out in spaces, and this is becoming a common theme with Devin Bush and tight ends. Now, I mean that's tough for a lot of players to defend that corner route, and I think he basically got beat on it twice. Right, he got beat on the touchdown, and he got beat on that one late in the game, the one that kind of Fant juggled, kind of out of bounds. I mean, when you got the inside leverage on that. And you kind of cheating a little bit more to the middle on top of it. and you having a there was a potential on the one down, that he juggled by the sideline there. I think too that it'd be interesting to see on the all 22 how close he was to being affected by that rub of that receiver coming off of that side over there as well. I don't think it was very impactful. We'll have to look what it says on the tape and all, but 2 corner routes in a row. They knew how to expose him, and he'll see more of that as well too.
Yeah, that touchdown to Fant was a nice route combination. It was a sail concept, a go route, a corner route, which is what Fant ran, and then a flat route to hold the underneath defender. And as you said, Bush playing inside leverage, tough to defend the sideline there. So you got to tip your hat to Denver. But Devin Bush was drafted to be an athlete, to cover guys, and he's done well in a lot of respects. But obviously, not a banner day for him yesterday in that regard.
It did look like you had 2 coming down low on that touchdown, though. Edmonds and I think who else was on that side? Nelson, I guess.
Yeah. I have to go back and look at it.
Yeah, I'm interested to see. I think Edmonds was where he was supposed to be, at least at first blush. I just we'll have to double check and we'll see what the all 22 looks like on that one. But it just looks like it was a clean win by Fant on the corner, as you mentioned on the sail concept there to the corner. It was a great throw. I mean, he was wide. It wasn't even contested. And look, I mean, we've seen Devin Bush give up a lot of tight end, and then even worse was the 2-point conversion. Man, he wasn't even anywhere close to that as well. So we're seeing a common theme here with tight ends on Devin Bush, and they're gonna have to work absolutely on those kind of matchups there. And as far as Vince Williams, I mean, look, you got to know at least once or twice a game opposing offenses are when they see Williams out there, probably they'd be smart to try to work a matchup such as that, and that route combination once again was tough to defend, and it did take a great throw and probably an even better catch by Melvin Gordon on that. That's not excusing Vince Williams whatsoever, but the other teams paid to make plays on as well, and they certainly got one there. And once again, a good throw by Driscoll in both the touchdowns there.
I'm just thinking out loud. I wonder if Devin Bush is still kind of getting used to being the guy and playing every single down, every single situation on some of those long drives where last year he's coming off the field in at least a lot of dime packages, pretty much all dime packages. So I wonder if he's just still kind of getting his legs under him, especially without having an off season and everything pandemic related, of just kind of getting used to having the stamina to be every down, every situation type of guy, because he did seem to fade in that game a little bit.
Yeah, he's got to be better. Plain and simple.
There was no Spillane sighting this week, right?
No Spillane on defense.
Okay, because he had 8 snaps in week 1. Replaced Vince. I don't know if Vince got dinged or whatever the issue was, but yeah, only those 2 guys this week. All right, let's move on to the secondary now with the cornerbacks. And yeah, Hayden got beat for 40-something yards against Cortland Sutton, and Nelson didn't have the best game. Not the best game across the board for the secondary. With the penalties, giving up too many plays, a couple more missed tackles than what you're used to seeing. Not a terrible game, but not to the standard necessarily the Steelers have set.
Yeah, not what I expected going into this. I expected them to play a lot better against really a more inexperienced receiving group, if you will. Sutton is sort of established, but he came into this game banged up. Jerry Jeudy, obviously a young kid, and Hamler, obviously a young kid as well too. And look, these Broncos receivers didn't help their cause on that side of the field too. Probably another Jerry Judy's probably going to be. I didn't realize he was such a drop machine coming out. Did you? He has had some drop issues already in 2 games so far, and I don't know how many total. They probably had 3, 4. Maybe even 5 drops in that game offensively. The Broncos did, and one of them went right off the interception by Hayden was a gift right off the receiver's hands as well too. So not only were the Steelers did the Steelers secondary struggle a little bit in coverage, it might have been a little bit worse had the Broncos held on to some footballs.
Agreed. And another pretty quiet game for Minkah Fitzpatrick, who was really only noticed when getting called for a horse collar on a Noah Fant crossing pattern. And yeah, I think it's now, what has it been, 9 games since his last interception? I know they're trying to rotate him a little bit. I know offenses stay away from him, but I am very much looking forward to the next Minkah Fitzpatrick impact play.
Not his best game. Not the best game of his NFL career, if you ask me. Talking about Minkah. Missed at least, I think he missed like 2 tackles in that game. Had the horse collar, had the penalty. I think was targeted once and gave up a reception in that game. Just really, not a great game at all. And like I said, that might have been his worst NFL game to date so far.
Yeah, it was up there. On the other side, Tyrell Edmonds, a couple of plays. I mean, nearly had an interception on the right side, had a breakup instead. Yeah. What did you think of Edmonds' performance?
Other than, not great overall. Not great overall other than sack, I think. Another guy that we hit on this last week, I think, just his processing sometimes, it just doesn't seem like he processes well overall, and I think that's one of the biggest things with him. Now, was that sack used? Yeah, absolutely, and that very well might be it is. It's the biggest play of his NFL career, in my opinion. Now, you talked about and wrote about going into this season how he's got to make more plays. Those weren't necessarily the plays that we were probably thinking about with him. We'll take it, but
Yep.
You obviously want to see him around the football a lot more.
Yeah, it was a little bit better. I'll need to go back and check the tape on him, but just another okay performance overall from Edmonds. But the sack was free. He came in absolutely scot-free, but the sack and the finish was certainly big at the end of that one on that 4th and 2. And of course, I'd be remiss if I did not talk about the bright spot in the secondary of Mike Hilton. And that dude is going to get paid. Probably not by Pittsburgh, but he's going to get paid, and deservedly so, because he was fantastic again Sunday.
Man, he was all over the place, wasn't he? At one point, I think on Twitter, I said that it seems like there's three Hiltons and 3 Duprees out there again. I mean, the guy is fearless. I mean, as good of as a slot, nickel corner as he is, I mean, the guy plays almost like a defensive end against the run as well too. I mean, just fearless coming up and helping in the run, and that obviously that's been his MO. Really, is his entire NFL career. I mean, he'll chase. You know what stuck out to me, and it might seem insignificant, and yeah, it might not have resulted in a first down anyway. But I think it was a 2nd and 5. It was 2 plays before the sack. That run over to the left side over there. That comes a lot closer to getting the first down if Mike Hilton doesn't chase that down from behind. I think Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Steven Nelson got the tackle on that. But Hilton sure was in on the backside helping out, chasing that thing down from behind. And I almost wonder if Hilton doesn't get their backside on chasing that down, if that might not still go for a first down anyway there. So, I mean, that was 2 plays before the sack, and then obviously on the 3rd down play, I think the Broncos had coming out of the bunch on that right side. They had their 2 players kind of collide coming out of that bunch, and that kind of slowed the underneath cross. It really threw off the whole timing of that play, and that ended up being a key incomplete pass on that 3rd down and set up the 4th down play there. But don't look past. Go back and look at that 2nd and 6 or 5 or whatever play it was, Alex, and watch what Mike Hilton does chasing backside on it.
Okay, I will. Yeah, I don't remember that one off the top of my head, but I'll check that out. The one that sticks in my mind was the 2nd and 1, where he blows up our old friend Nick Vannett into the backfield, gets tackled for loss. It's now 3rd and 3. Next pass is incomplete. It forces a punt. I mean, that is 190 pounds, I'm being generous, taking on a 240, 250-pound tight end, blowing him up, making the tackle, helps get your defense off the field. I mean, there are essentially no other corners in football that can make a play like that.
He's got his mojo back on the timing of his coming off the edge as well, too. You know,
Mm-hmm.
certainly graded that, and overall, obviously got himself another sack. You know, in the game. So yeah, props to him. Of all their corners, absolutely, he was the best in the Steelers secondary against the Broncos.
First Steelers corner with sacks in back-to-back games is Deshae Townsend in 2004.
That's a good stat.
So Deshae Townsend has like 15 career sacks. I did not know that until I researched that yesterday. He had a lot of sacks in his career. I think Hilton's up to 8.5 now. And then just a quick final point on that Edmonds sack. Hilton bluffed the blitz from the other side, and then he bails, and they bring Edmonds to the defense's left side, and the line is sliding towards Mike Hilton. So now they're able to change it up and give the appearance of a Mike Hilton blitz that causes the offense to respond to that, and now they're going to bring pressure elsewhere. So it's that chess game that the Steelers continually win because, as Mike Tomlin said, they are not afraid to blitz anybody, and they are bringing basically everybody so far 2 games into this season.
Brought the safety from the field side, right?
Yeah. Edmonds came in free. Again, I'm surprised the back went out. They were running this follow concept, which is a drive and an angle route, and had Edmonds not gotten there, I think they would have completed that pass and picked up the first down. But, I mean, just even though offenses know the Steelers are going to blitz, they're going to bring a lot of pressure, the Steelers still find ways to get guys free, and that's the mark of a good scheme whenever teams know what you're going to do generally, and they still can't stop it.
All right, safeties overall, as we hit on it, really Minka, as we said, not a great game at all for him. Edmonds was better than Minka, so, take that for what it's worth.
Mm-hmm. And just overall, just to go back, I mean, I know that Keith Butler and the Steelers defense has always been known as an aggressive attacking unit. I don't think I've ever seen this defense be as aggressive as they've been to start a season like they have these 2 weeks. I mean, their blitz rate has to be over 50%, or at least right around there. It's been an insane amount of pressure.
And I think that's because the youthfulness of the quarterbacks that they're facing probably, and because of the lack of these teams having the preseason to figure out some of this stuff. I think you just want to toss the sink at some of these teams early on. Now, obviously we won't preview the Texans game until starting Wednesday, but I'd be a little bit more careful with Deshaun Watson and blitzing that much. I mean, more than anything, obviously, too, because he's more of a threat to run on top of it. But I'm willing to bet that blitz rate dips down a little bit here in week 3.
We'll see. I mean, I think Watson's been sacked 7 or 8 times already in 2 games. I mean, that line isn't great. Obviously, I understand, Watson and his threat to run. But if you can get after him and get more pressure the way that Baltimore and Kansas City have, that might be the ticket. So either way, even if we see that number come down a little bit, I think they're still going to be very aggressive and a blitz-heavy team. Mike Hilton had 2 sacks against the Texans, a couple years ago. We'll see if we can do it again. 3 sacks, I should say. Short change.
Oh, there you go. What'd you see about split of kind of man and man zone, coverages and all? Do you have that charted yet?
No, I don't have that charted, but still some zone on third downs where I would like to see them man up. I think maybe that's partially because of the quarterback's threat to run, although Driscoll, I don't think it's as fleet as foot as Jeff Locke would, or Jeff Locke, Pirates reference, Drew Locke would have been.
You're doing too many of them Pirates videos. Cut that out. You're wasting time. Get back to writing football content.
There you go. Yeah, I would like to see a little bit more man coverage, but I know there's going to be a mix there, so I don't have a great feel for how it was. Maybe a little bit more man against the Broncos than it was against the Giants, but I would like to see them man up a little bit more often, to be honest with you.
I thought Buggs, in the few snaps that he played, represented himself fairly well. Trying to think what else we had defensively overall.
I think that was about it. I mean, Wormley got rotated in more. Do we have snap counts? I think they were pretty similar to last week.
Yeah,
in terms of the rotation.
they were very similar, except for the fact that Spillane didn't see the field any. I think that was the biggest thing that maybe stuck out as far as defensive snaps went.
Yeah, and again, it's some more base defense against even 11 personnel to try to stop the run, and I think that did kind of improve over into the second half. So that's it, I think, for the defense overall. Again, not perfect, but a lot of splash plays in key moments, and that was kind of been the story of the first 2 weeks of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
All right, let's flip over to the offense. And Ben Roethlisberger, not as sharp as he was against the Giants. He threw his first interception, which was just a terrible decision, and he admitted that after the game, a lame duck throw that was picked off by Justin Simmons. And one of the reasons why... What
was the route? I couldn't see it on TV, on the TV view, and we'll probably have to wait for the all 22. But He talked about having to trust the throw. What was the route Deontay was running on that he should have trusted? Because he looked like he wanted to pull the trigger on it, and he didn't.
I don't know. Maybe some sort of crosser. I could not see it. I'll have to go back and check it. But whatever it was, he should have hit Deontay, is what Ben said, and he didn't. Looked off of him and then threw that just pop pass to Juju that was picked off by Simmons.
He just got to throw that one away, and I think they said that on the TV as well too. I mean, that was typical Ben, just trying to force one in there, and those kind of things just can't happen. He's once he didn't pull it wasn't there, and it was a poor pass on top. That thing kind of floated up there anyway. He was asking for that one there. So obviously the single worst decision of that game and throw by him.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, really, on that play, and then I think on the next drive, he threw that one to Benny Snell that got tipped, nearly picked, and then caught by Juju. Those were plays where he had really clean pockets, and that's where he's got to be backyard Ben and start moving the pocket and, getting guys, to move across the field and force his defense to plaster. And he did that on the Deontay Johnson touchdown. And that was kind of more of a classic Ben, where he's rolling out of the pocket instead of just being very static in the pocket. So I think that was Ben's issue. And once he kind of got back to that let's extend the play by moving the pocket type ways, that's when you got the big plays back. So just a moment there where Ben made a bad decision. You move on from it. He'll learn from it. Obviously, he's Ben, but that was a terrible decision.
Yeah, and look, his accuracy to start here hasn't been, great. However, there were, I think if you go back through this thing, now the TV tape some of these angles, sometimes it'll make it look like a drop, but the pass will be, you'll look at the end zone view and think, okay, well, I understand maybe why that one wasn't caught, but at least initially looks like 4 drops in this game. Deontay with one, Jalen Samuels on that little screen, Eric Ebron, that might have been a little bit. That's one I really want to look at. Might have been a little bit behind, and then James Washington I think had one too. So there's 4 drops right there, at least until the all 22 tells us otherwise. So I'll be interested to look at those. I mean, you're not helping your quarterback out when when you do kind of those things. Now I think that the Samuels went on a 3rd and whatever, 3rd and
they were backed up. I forget.
Yeah, so I mean that's less significant because the drive probably still going to stall anyway. Had he caught that one, but on a few of those other ones, there makes you kind of wonder what would have happened on the rest of those drives if not for the drops. Now, once again, he wasn't pinpoint with his accuracy, and you got to be careful criticizing touchdown passes, but I think it's okay because even Ben criticized himself, and I think he's right. I mean, I think he kind of got away with one a little bit there. It was a little bit behind Deontay, and what are we talking about that if that's another 2 inches behind Deontay and it's picked off? Sure. There. And once again, you got to be careful. You're criticizing, obviously, Ben being Ben, that's what he does, and the end result obviously is all what matters there. But kind of got away with one there.
Yeah, I mean things weren't perfect. I don't know if that's Tim's just still shaking off some rust or still getting some timing down and chemistry down with some of these receivers, or just poor execution, poor technique, whatever. The issue was it's probably multifold. But yeah, I mean overall, Ben not his best game, but good enough to win. I mean, he still throws for over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and comes out healthy, and the line blocked a whole lot better. And overall, while it was not a perfect Sterling performance, it was good enough to get the win.
Now the throw obviously deep to Claypool, dropped that one right in the bucket there, and what was that I think that was from the line of scrimmage, like 39 yards, and I think actually in air it might have been another 10 yards on top of it, so probably about a 49 yards from release point, dropping it right into the bucket to Claypool.
With the linebacker coming in free, I mean he took a shot on that play.
Absolutely. He stood in there and delivered a terrific throw, and then obviously Claypool did the rest after that. At first blush, I thought maybe that foot had stepped out of bounds on him, but he did a good job of staying in and going the rest way. The biggest takeaway on that entire play, I think, is Claypool winning against the press coverage on the cornerback and winning, stacking over the top and winning with the ball in the air.
Yeah.
That was one of the things coming out of college that I had unchecked on his box with him, and I think I've stated that several times. Everything else, the contested catches, the blocking, other than just really having a full route tree overall with Claypool, which a lot of these kids coming out of college not having a full grasp, full route tree underneath their belt. The only box I've stated, I think, when it comes to Claypool is him being able to stack corners against press and make the catch with the ball in the air, and he did that yesterday. So that's one last final box as far as I'm concerned checked with him overall. So you really got to like what you saw overall on him, and specifically that one play. And 80-something. His long in college was 47, 48 over 4 years. That was his longest reception, and he nearly doubled that in just his second NFL game with that long catch and run there.
Tied for the fourth longest touchdown by a Steelers rookie in team history, only behind Juju Smith-Schuster, Martavis Bryant, and Dave Smith, who I think was in your biggest play series, right, from 1970, 87-yard touchdown. I will say the one caveat on Claypool's touchdown is that it came against another rookie corner, Michael Ojemudia, the rookie from Iowa, because the Broncos have been so beat up in the secondary, so he was beating another rookie corner, but still making the play.
Yeah, I don't want to take – I mean, look, I've stated – I mean, we didn't see that at Notre Dame, you know?
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, quarterback, a couple times, obviously the quarterback, would hold on to the football a little bit. And now there were a few times where he would maybe get a corner stacked and just didn't get thrown the football maybe a few times in that. But I think if you go back, I mean, people would be hard pressed to go back through all 4 years of his college tape and show me a play where he won vertically against a man press type situation and stacked and won the way that he did on Sunday. So yeah, against a rookie corner, okay, but it's just something that it was a box that was unchecked with him as far as I was concerned.
Sure. No,
and he's checked it now. So, and look, I mean, you've got to have when you're going to have him in that position, and you're going to look, Deontay's obviously going to start demanding a little bit more attention. Juju obviously out of slot going to demand some attention here. You're going to have these situations here with that Z that you're going to have the what were they doing on coverage there, by the way? Was that cover one man, just the safety cheating to the other side?
Yeah, I think the safety had rotated down to give it a single high look, and Claypool was just manned up one-on-one with the corner.
Well, what was the other safety on that other side doing? I guess manning up with the guy coming out of the slot. Wasn't there a slot or something on that other side?
He was shaded, I think, to the far hash on that play. I'll have to go back and check on it. He was not directly in center field, though. He was cheating to the other side.
Well, that safety came down on that side.
Right,
which left the rookie, which was kind of curious because the other safety was other, other. There was no way the other safety was going to get over the top there. Okay,
right. He was like on the far hash of that play,
and it would have made more sense, I guess, to play quarter half on that. I almost wonder if maybe that kid wasn't supposed to play. Look at that when y'all 22, and remind me to talk about that when we get back to Wednesday here. I found it a bit curious. Regardless, when Ben sees a singled up guy, Washington, or really any of them now, because they're moving. It seems like they're moving these kids around quite a bit in all these positions now, which is good. To have these guys be able to play the X, the Y, the Y and the Z, or and flank all like that together. But whenever he sees that outside there, one-on-one with the safety cheating the way he was, there's going to be opportunities for that, and that was good to see once again. To see Claypool win that specifically that way.
Right. Once a safety to Claypool's side rotated down, you knew you had one-on-one coverage. You were going to take a shot. And to me, the most impressive part of that play was just, and it's it's not a surprise because we knew kind of how freaky this dude was, but just after the catch, I mean, it just feels like the dude Claypool is gliding his way to the end zone. I know Ujamuda was kind of out of control and falls down at the end of that play, but Claypool, it's just such a long strider, such an easy mover, just makes up so much ground in just 2-3 steps. I mean, the dude just makes it look like he's not even moving, and he's just running away from everybody.
Yeah, I don't think that's the last time we've seen a long touchdown by him. Hopefully it's not.
No, I don't think it will be either. Other weapons in the receiving game, Deontay Johnson started off on a very sour note with that fumble on the first snap of the game on that attempted end around or jet play. But from there, I mean, he was electric, and he reminds you of all the plays he can make in space. The punt return, 81 yards that should have been a score, got called back by the Cam Sutton penalty, unfortunately. But when he's hot and cold, but whenever this dude's hot, I mean, he is fun to watch.
Starting to get the MO where he makes the tough catch look easy and the easy touch catch look tough with him. Had to drop yesterday, I noted. But then later in the second half there had kind of that, he's got great control of his body. He could, had another one of those kind of body control reach behind him, and he saved Ben Roethlisberger on one of those throws. Had a great catch. Just he's got to get more consistent. He's got to have the ball security now. I mean, nobody can make. I mean, he can make some people miss in the open field, man. I mean, we saw that last season. 18 forced misses last season. He's probably got about 5 already
on that one punt return.
Well, I mean, I know on that play over to the right side, right? Remember that? That running catch over, what was it, a wide receiver screen over there to the right side? He made about 3 or 4 people, I think, miss on that play as well, too. I'm just talking just offensively and making people miss. We'll talk about the special team aspects here in a minute. He just has got to put a full game together. He's got to come out of the locker room and hold on to the football and make some of those plays earlier in games instead of us having to sit and watch him rebound from slow starts. I mean, he's a talented kid, obviously, and like I said, kind of reaching behind him in that throw in the end zone and kind of, making sure to secure that touchdown there, and also had the tough catch in the second half where he had to adjust his body as well too. So his ability, what did I put down, 39 yards after the catch or something along those lines. He had on his, what do you have, 90-something yards receiving for the day. How many, what do you have receiving for the day?
Let's see, 8 for 92.
All right, I think he had 39 or 40 yards after the catch on top of it.
Yeah, it does not surprise me. It just has to be a little more consistent, a little bit better with ball security and kind of focus and technique, and the sky will be the limit for Deontay Johnson. I will say, though, as much as it sucks to talk about like him having to bounce back from early mistakes, Giants game, muff punt, the fumble early in this one, I like the mental toughness. He's not rattled by that where he can't get focused and he gets his head right even after making those early mistakes. So while that's not good necessarily, I do like that he's able to kind of just have a short-term memory and forget about that early bad play and focus on the next one.
All right. Juju, nice stiff arm on that play earlier in the game that got him down deep in there. Juju also had another contested catch at one point. I'm trying to think if that was early, it may have been early second half over there when he just started taking what the defense was giving him and really going side to side there with more short. And here's the thing that stuck out about Ben, man, just other than the deep pass, I think he had a completed air yard distance average of around 5.2 or 3, which is kind of a little bit low for Ben, overall. So, got to get a little bit better at pushing that football down the field. Obviously had the one, I think, down the middle to air. How nice is it to see tight ends used over the middle, past 15 yards down the field there, and we saw one of those yesterday. Obviously, we already talked about the long pass to Claypool that was completed, but outside of that, there was a lot of under 10-yard completions for Ben. Not that it's bad, because you go back to 2018. You can win that way, as long as you're not having to go long fields. And so far, for the most part, they haven't had to go a lot of long fields, which is good.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I imagine that was just what Denver was giving them. The All-22 will speak to that better than what we can see off TV tape. They have a couple of good safeties with Justin Simmons, who, of course, had the interception, Kareem Jackson. So I could probably understand not wanting to test those guys too much. And eventually, I mean, after the Claypool touchdown, those corners were playing so soft. I mean, Ben was just throwing the outs and the curls underneath and picking up 7-8 yards at a time. So kind of what the defense gave him, Ben took advantage, and not too mad about that.
And there were probably, and we already talked about the interception and how he wanted to pull the trigger to Deontay. I look forward to seeing that one. It seems like there was another play as well too, where he wanted to pull the trigger that he didn't. I can't for the life of me remember what that play was. Another interesting thing about his play, wasn't there like 3 bat downs at the line of scrimmage?
There were. I think Ben made a comment about that after the game. Now, one was Simmons coming in free, and the other 2, I think, were more traditional defensive linemen getting a hand on the football. But yeah, that is rare for a 6'5" quarterback to have 3 bat downs like that.
Right. So I don't know. It's hard to judge by. I wonder if release point has anything. I wonder if any change in release point might have. I mean, that's next level there. We'll have to kind of look at see if we can pick anything out on the end zone. All 22 there, but it just, I mean, how many bat downs did he have in the opener too? Didn't he have a few?
Did he?
Did he? I'm asking. I don't remember off the top of my head.
Nothing coming to mind. There may have been one. I'm not 100% sure.
All right, so that's something to put in the back of our head to file away to start watching for moving forward here is kind of these bat downs. Mm-hmm. Now the one on the Simmons, obviously, I mean, he's coming free. I mean, that's going to happen.
Right. And Simmons is a really good athlete that timed that up pretty well. To the run game, James Conner ended up being the guy. 16 carries, 106, and a touchdown. Of course, had the 59-yarder to really kind of be the nail in the coffin in that one. And while running room before that wasn't particularly great, he was the guy. And Benny Snell fumbled on one of his only 3 carries, and that was another mistake in this game. One of the reasons why Denver hung around in this one. I think it was penalties, it was turnovers, it was poor third down play for the Steelers offense are all central reasons why Denver was able to get back in this game. So Connor kind of retaking the lead in the Steelers backfield.
If it's not a turnover chain, it's a bell cow chain. And right now, James Conner has it back. Right now and until further notice. And Mike Tomlin didn't really want to come out and say it, but Benny Snell going to have to fight back to get some carries here. I have a feeling now. 2 fumbles in 2 games by him. That stuff just can't happen. Man, one play. I mean, you get the safety, you get the free kick there, and you get good field position, and first play, you fumble away the football, man.
He did that last week. The second play off the Hayward interception, Snell fumbled.
Man, that just can't happen there, man. I mean, the guy he's talented. We saw some positive things, obviously, out of Benny Snell in the opener. But like Deontay, he's got to be a lot more consistent. You just cannot. I understand he fought. He was spinning away, and then that's how the foam got hit, and then the foam. But regardless of how it happens, you can't have those kind of ball security issues for sure. And his 3 runs, none were successful. Now James Conner had something like 9 of
16.
9 of 16 were successful. I think I wrote. All right. Now look, I get. Okay, you want to throw out the long run at the end? Okay, go ahead and throw it out. You got to look at this at successful run rates. You cannot look at this because if you need 2 yards for a touchdown and you get 2 yards for a touchdown, it's a touchdown. All right, it's a successful play. You got to look at these things at successful run rates. And is the running game still clunky? Absolutely. It's not fluid. You kind of wonder on a down-by-down basis how they're going to be able to run the football. But I think when you look at an overall success rates, you have to be happy with what they did, especially James Conner in this game. Now they were other reasons they were backed up, in certain situations. And one of those successful runs was him gaining like 8 yards on a 2nd and 18 or whatever it was, there. But that's still a successful run. Anytime a running back carries the football for more than 6 yards, that's a successful run. So better at least it's moving in the right direction. Now, does the running game have to get more fluidity to it? Absolutely. And more than anything, just hold on to the damn football.
Right. Yeah, you want to see a little more consistency, a little bit more oomph and strength with this unit. Now, well, I think Kevin Dotson played a fine game. We'll talk about that here in a second. Getting David Castro back, hopefully, for Sunday against Houston will, of course, be beneficial in that mission in the run game. But, yeah, Connor's been the guy. And, again, my stance has been whenever Connor's healthy, he's the guy. And I think that's been cemented based off of Sunday's performance.
Neither one of those two are explosive backs.
Right.
They are power type guys. All right. Now, Benny, we've seen Benny make if he can get out in space, we've seen both of them kind of, if they can get one-on-one in some situations with a safety, maybe make some guys miss. But they're not going to be behind the line, foot in the ground, one cut kind of guys. That's just not who they are. Anthony McFarland Jr. was active. No work. Were you a bit surprised by that? Not even one offensive snap from what I saw. Not even out there using them as a motion cat or whatnot. I was a little bit surprised and disappointed in that.
Yeah, I was as well. I thought maybe if you dress him for a reason to have some purpose. Because did he play anything on special teams? Are there any snaps there?
I don't think so. No.
So yeah, so you dress him not to play him at all on any unit, offense or special teams, which is a little surprising. So maybe they had an idea for him and it just didn't work out, or game flow, or who knows what this situation was. But I'll take seeing him over Jalen Samuels. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, me too. And I mean, even though Jalen Samuels did give you a nice, a third and whatever, line him up out in the slot and a quick little slant to him, I think got the first down. That might have been.
That was all designn though.
Okay, but all right, you still got to execute. And wasn't that one of the 2 third downs they converted? Maybe.
Right. Yeah, it was. It was like a 3rd and 3.
All right, now, granted, I'm not gonna get up on no pedestal and bang no drum for Jalen Samuels, but he did make a play on 3rd down. All right, and they only converted 2 of those. So, but back to dressing that many. That's the thing. I mean, who else could have got it? Do you need to dress 4 running backs and a fullback, especially when you're not going to play one of them in lieu of dressing another tight end or UG3 or something along those lines? That I kind of question that decision. Maybe it was just get him in the habit of going through the motion, and maybe next week if McFarland gets the helmet, he will have gone through the pregame, getting himself ready for a game and all like that, and maybe get a little bit of work. So maybe that was all by design on top of it. That would be a great question to ask Mike Tomlin, right, on Tuesday. You dressed Anthony McFarland. He didn't play any offense or defensive snaps. Was that to get him used to the process more? Maybe that's a good question.
Yeah, it would be. Maybe he had a good week in practice, and they just wanted to reward him for having that good week. And if they had a chance to use him, they did. If the situation didn't arise, then they don't. I don't know, but hopefully we'll see him on the field in some capacity in the next couple of weeks.
They didn't run any power with Dotson that I saw, I don't think, to the left side. They obviously had Filer on the move a handful of times. The tight ends are killing this team blocking. I knew they were. I knew that was going to be. I mean, for those of you listening, me and all this talk about the 2 tight ends. If you're going to have 2 tight ends, who you pulling off the field? And for those of you saying you need to get Derek Watt out there more, once again, unless they change the rules, you start putting 12 or 13 guys on offense. I don't know how you people are going to make that happen.
Well, I'd rather have 21 personnel than some of the 12 personnel in terms of run blocking.
Sure, you ain't got to twist my arm for that. But the 2 tight end things with those guys, if one of them's not detached, just isn't probably going to go well.
Did you see the clip I posted to people running against the Giants last week of him just getting tossed out of the club by Blake Martinez?
Who?
Ebron.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You saw that one? I mean, that was just and it was crazy. The replies I got to that, it was every Lions and Colts fan. They do not like Eric Ebron. I don't harbor that kind of resentment for Eric Ebron, but they do not like him over in Detroit and Indy.
Look, it's not his strength, and I mean, it's not who he is. Okay, so quit trying to put him in position where that's not who he is.
Yeah, square peg, round hole.
You know, if you want to do something, here's what you need. All right, here's what you need to do. If you're going to dress a guy like McFarland and not play him, I would much rather have seen a couple snaps with Gentry dressed and using him as the second tight end as a blocker right now, just to see if the development's there. I mean, how much better are they going to get? Look, you want to do something else? Damn, cut Gentry and bring up Rader then if he's your best damn blocking tight end.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
they just can't ask.
You've got zero confidence right now in Gentry. It seems like. All right, if he can't even get the helmet as a blocking third tight end right now over a guy like McFarland who you dress and don't even play. I mean, and McDonald hasn't been, unfortunately, since a couple years ago. He started off kind of, looking real decent as a run blocker. Who were two of the penalties on yesterday? Weren't one on McDonald and one on Ebron?
One was on Ebron. I don't remember if another was on McDonald.
I thought there was another one at McDonald.
You do kind of want McDonald's bringing to the offense because at least Ebron's catching some passes. McDonald has 2 receptions in 2 games.
Right, and if he can't function as a good block, offensive holding number 89. That was in the second quarter, 1st and 10 on a Connor up the middle for 12. Remember that one?
Yeah.
So you wiped out a 12-yard run. And I don't think the hold was even necessary on that one. Go circle that one. Take your red marker out and circle that one to look at. Because I remember he was called. I'm pretty sure that's the play that I'm thinking of there that wasn't necessary. And really, I don't think it was as necessary on the Ebron as well too. So 2 of your penalties there on both your tight ends.
Yeah, I mean, McDonald's getting paid $5.5 million. What's the number this year for 2 catches for 6 yards in 2 games and some mediocre blocking?
Right.
Yeah, but I think even with Ebron, it just you could ask him to block. You just have to be really smart about it. Whether that's detaching him, whether that's using leverage and angles, where he just kind of uses his size to down block. He can do that stuff. But if you ask him to combo block and line up and base block these guys, and he's not going to win. So you can still block him. You just have to be smart about the situations you put him in. And if you put him in a situation where you expect him to be Heath Miller, I mean, you're not going to get those results. So that's a Steelers thing, less more so than it's an Ebron issue.
Sure, and I hope I clarified that.
Right,
right. Look, he is who he is. He didn't come out of North Carolina as an all-around tight end. So quit trying to put him in these positions like this, unless it's kind of trying to just wash out aside. And push down or get to the next level, and just kind of run interference on a safety or something like that.
But I will say though, if neither guy's blocking McDonald or Ebron, that really is limiting because someone's got to do the dirty work, and if neither can do it, then that's going to be an issue.
I can't believe I'm going to say this, but damn, bring a damn tackle in.
Yeah, Gerald Hawkins was tackle eligible.
Right, and he dressed and he didn't play. I don't think he logged a snap, and I can't believe Look, this team needs we've talked. I hate to get ahead of ourselves talking about draft and all, but I think it was already a time or two we mentioned tight end, and Charlie Warner sure would have looked good in this offense right now. But they've got to get a more all around tight end in this next draft, and I'll guarantee you this: one of Ebron or McDonald will not be on this 2021 Steelers, and I'm not so convinced right now that maybe both of them might be gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we knew that was a possibility. Warner do anything with the 49ers with Kittle down yesterday?
I haven't had a chance to look at that, no.
Okay, I know Reed had a good day for the 49ers, but I don't know what Warner did. All right, let's go to the offensive line. And overall, I thought they were definitely better than week 1. Run and pass communication, that was the issue, just worrying about how that group would work together against a pretty talented and pretty veteran Broncos defensive line. And hats off to Kevin Dotson, because I did not hear his name called once, and that's a good thing because according to PFF, no pressures allowed, no sacks allowed. And overall, I think a very nice first start for Kevin Dotson.
The TV tape says it wasn't a bad showing on him. So we'll see what the end zone view looks like on Dotson specifically. Outside of maybe, a few misses on some run blocks or whatnot, I thought he played reasonably well from the TV tape. And really, while focusing on him, I tried to keep an eye on Chikwama Okorafor as well, too. And it seemed like he he played reasonably well as well. Now, once again, I don't think they asked those guys to be, to do a lot. Like I said, I don't think I remember Dotson pulling. Would have liked to have seen that for sure. But I thought overall both represented themselves well.
Yeah, they ran behind Dotson on the Connor touchdown. I don't know how great of a block Dotson threw. It looked okay, but yeah, I mean, you just didn't want to have any big negative moments where you're just missing a stunt, a blitz, where you're just getting beaten pass pro on an island, 1-on-1, whatever the case is. Same with the core four. Although core four, at least you knew him a little bit more, and you didn't have to face Von Miller, which helped as well. But I thought both guys played well, and overall the line, while not at great, was better individually and as a collective unit than week one.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we could fairly even outside of the sack on Filer, really not very many blemishes. I don't remember overall. Now, we get into the end zone view and we'll see a few things that we didn't see there, but I liked it. I liked it overall. Now, here's the good feeling. If Castro's healthy, he needs to come back, right? And obviously be your starter there. But it gives you a little bit of security now that Dotson can be that next guy up there. And obviously Chiquamo Corfor didn't have Von Miller or anybody to deal with. So we'll have to see. They're going to have their hands full. Somebody going to have their hands full on that right side of that line in week 3 against some kid named Watt.
Yeah, for sure. But overall, I was happy with that group. And yeah, it's nice to get Dotson exposure. It's good to kind of see getting thrown into the fire like that. I said this before the season. Some rookie's going to get thrown into the fire playing a lot more than what you expected them to. And hopefully, like Tyrell Edmonds and like Deontay Johnson last year, they kind of rise overall to the challenge. And I think Dotson did that.
Chubb, do you remember Chubb's name being called much at all?
No, Villanueva. I mean, kudos to him. A quiet game, but quiet games are good things for offensive linemen most of the time.
Right, you're not hearing their names called. That's good. I thought Villanueva was the best lineman, and I think Dotson might have been the second best offensive lineman in that game. Dotson, then the three all grouped together there. Dotson, Pouncey, and Chiquamo Corfor. I thought all were kind of equal. I thought Villanueva probably was the best of the bunch, and then Filer, mainly because of the sack. Would have brought up the rear there.
Yeah, we'll break down the sacks later in the week on Steelers Depot. All right, anything else with the offense you would like to add, Dave? Want to see better on third down. What, 2 for 10, 2 for 9?
What did I say? How many of those were 9 or more?
Actually, 2 for 12. I apologize. 2 for 12 they were on third down.
Seven of those 12 third downs were 9 or more yards needed.
Yeah, a lot of penalties. They were stalling drives, turning into a 2nd and 15, and that kind of really kills the drive.
You got to do a better job of staying on schedule. You can't continue to have 75% of your third downs be 9 or more yards. Plain and simple.
Amen.
I mean, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to discredit Denver. Because credit to Jeff Driscoll for hanging in there. Their guys making plays, but it was Steelers beating Steelers. That's the reason why this game was close. It was poor third down. It was dumb turnovers. The Snell fumble, the better interception. Situationally, just not good enough offensively, and that's the driving reason behind this team getting back in the game. Denver did.
What were they in the red zone?
I think 1 for 3, technically, just because of the kneel down at the end when Connor had that 59-yard run. So. Really 1 for 2, but I think it technically goes down to like 1 for 3.
Okay.
I think that's right. Connor with a touchdown. I think Boss had field goal. I'll get the numbers on that. Yeah, Boss had the field goal, 21 yards at the end of the half. Anything else with the offense you would like to add, Dave?
Trying to remember. We went through all the wide receivers and all, right? So I think we mopped that up pretty good, right?
All right, special teams, pretty good bright spot overall. Boz was solid, no big blunders like last week. You had, of course, the safety, which I think was really just an unforced error. Martin just dropped the football, but Steelers ended up finishing the play. And Ray McLeod with the longest kick return in 3 years by Steelers, so on his 3rd career attempt for Pittsburgh. So good job there.
And also really the main negative, I guess, would have been the Cameron Sutton block in the back, which probably wasn't needed.
Right.
And Deontay, you can hear Chris Berman's head going through your head. Whoop, whoop, making people miss back there. Once again, the guy just the ball security issue is the biggest thing with Deontay, because if he gets the ball in his hands and secures it, he can make some people miss. Short range, long range, wherever. And with Ray, he might break one. He might end up breaking one. He came close, and once again, he's another one that ball control issues in the past has been his downfall. So less so, I think most of those have come on punts, right? With Ray in the past, seems less of an issue, maybe, knock on wood, when it comes to kickoff returns there. Chase Claypool, brother. That I don't know how much longer he's going to be on special teams, but he sure is the fun to watch while he is on special teams.
Yeah, he makes plays like that. They're going to keep him out there as long as possible. 3 special teams tackles, the opening kickoff. He did much better job as a gunner after kind of missing a couple tackles. He did miss 2 tackles against the Giants. But, when you're a receiver and you're just the freaky guy that he is, and then you know how to beat press coverage because you're a receiver and that's what you face every single day, you can beat those jammers pretty good. And his releases, his punch, ability to get clean off the line is very impressive. And that receiver skill set translates to being a gunner.
Absolutely. And he look, that matches his Notre Dame tape to a T, man.
100%.
And to see him do it at the NFL level now, to get off as a gunner, we're not seeing anything new in that department with him. That's for sure. So it's good sometimes when you see some of these kids coming out and you're seeing the exact same things in college on a 4-year selection of tape that you're seeing in the NFL. Now, obviously, I quantified, the thing I want to see with him was the deep and stacking guys, and he's done that now. But everything else, everything else he did in college and just in his limited offensive snaps, we've seen now at the NFL level, and then obviously the special teams additionally as well, too.
Yeah, I think it's a great point. I think that's one reason why this team leaned on so many seniors. I know Kevin Colbert didn't really admit it, but I think you just have to feel compelled to take more seniors in this past draft because you're more comfortable with the evaluation. The guy that you saw on tape at Notre Dame is basically the guy that you're getting in Pittsburgh, and you kind of just feel comfortable with your assessment of him because you have more tape. You feel like you know him a little bit better. And yeah, everything he did at Notre Dame, he's doing in the NFL, which is a great sign.
One while it's on my mind here, one thing we saw him used at in Notre Dame that we've yet to see him, I think, used in the Steelers offense, which I think they need to explore, is running him on the underneath on the shallow.
Right.
He did that a lot at Notre Dame, and especially inside the red zone. He had quite a few of his red zone touchdowns came on those underneath 5-yard underneath crosses. Okay. And they'd also use them in the middle of the field as well too. Now, let me quantify that too. Most of his drops came on those same sort of underneath crosses. Okay, but I'm less concerned about that. I'd like to see him maybe used a little bit more moving forward as he starts getting more snaps on kind of those underneath crossers. One other thing while it's on my head, we're talking about offense. They've used it way too much in the past, but they pulled it out at the perfect time.
The shovel pass.
They
dressed it up a little bit differently, which was nice. And yeah, I worked a Juju on one of the. That was a 3rd down too, or was that a 4th down?
That was a 4th. That was the 4th
right.
Fourth and 2.
Right. Yeah. So nice job there. Juju.
Now what they're going to do, what I want to see Randy do, is build off the Will to Connor off of that.
But they threw that last year against the Bengals or the Chargers.
Right.
The 2. They hit Connor on that. So, yeah, there's a couple options on that play. The shovel is kind of the first read. And, I know Juju did not have a flashy game, 7 for 48, but, man, that's a physical dude. It's hard to bring down, and they didn't get to use him vertically, but he did a lot of damage underneath.
Yes.
And then Colquitt for special teams. The punt's not great. The one was pretty bad, but I think he did have a good hold I think a bit of a missed snap by Canada that Colquitt was able to wrangle. So, some good and some bad from him.
Yeah, a lot better. That was the first. I think that was the first of my 5 keys of the game. Be more specialer.
They were specialer,
and they were. So kudos to them to getting that son up and once again, other than the Cameron Sutton block in the back, not bad at all.
Not bad at all. So Steelers move to 2-0. They'll face the 0-2 Texans Sunday at 1 o'clock at Heinz Field. Now I know Houston's 0-2, and I know people are already ready to fire Bill O'Brien, but they have lost to basically the two best teams in football in Kansas City and Baltimore. So I'm not taking this Houston team lightly because they know they need a win, and they played some good teams and are already pretty battle tested.
Yeah, and this is going to be the best quarterback that they face. Period.
By far. Yep. By far.
You know, good running. They got a good running back in David Johnson, and I mean this is now their offensive line is going to be suspect, and it'll be interesting. Once again, I think one of the key things is to see how the right side of that Steelers offensive line does against the likes of a J.J. Watt and all. You know, but you know overall, I think they match up fairly decent. You know, if you don't let Deshaun Watson kill you with his legs, I think that's probably got to be rule number one in this one, you know.
Yeah, the key is as you said, which right side of the line holds up better, J.J. Watt versus a core four, or T.J. Watt versus, I'm not even sure who the Texans' right tackle is right now, because Tunsil on the left side is going to, I think, have a pretty good, decent day versus Dupree. That'll be Dupree's toughest matchup by far to start the year. So both Watts, we have to make plays for Houston and Pittsburgh.
Right.
All right, Dave. You want to go to my bookie ad? Or do you want to talk about week 2 roundup? I know we've got some reader emails to touch on. Where do you want to go from here?
I guess we should get to our folks at my bookie, shouldn't we?
Yeah, let's do it. I think we taught week 1. We were both 8-7-1. We picked like 7 different games, and we ended up with the same record.
Isn't that funny how it works like that?
Right.
All right. Winning season returns at MyBookie. Winning season means doubling your first deposit. Winning season means survivors, super contests, and squares. At MyBookie, winning season means hitting all your parlays and props with your feet up, watching your team trounce their rivals. Rejoice. It's time to celebrate the NFL season. Invest in your intuition. Use promo code TERRIBLE. And double your first deposit. New players get up to $1,000 in free play designed to add more excitement to the sports you love and the games you bet. More live from live betting to championship futures. Every play you want to make is waiting at mybookie.ag. It's simple. Make your picks, win big, collect your cash. Use promo code TERRIBLE and double your first deposit today. Your winning season begins today only at MyBookie. And we appreciate MyBookie being a yearly sponsor again of the Terrible Podcast. Make sure you support them, please.
Absolutely. Hey, I lost the Cowboys line yesterday, right? Even though they came back, because that line moved pretty heavily. I think that's why we picked it.
Yeah, but you get to stand on what the line was when we picked it. So
I know. I was thinking about that.
Boy, the Falcons, they're letting that one get away. Ugh.
That onside kick. You want to think Danny Smith is bad. How about the Falcons not recovering that onside kick? Just watching it.
You can jump on that thing at any point.
Yeah. The Cowboys have to wait for it to go 10 yards. The Falcons can jump on it immediately. They don't, and they thought they had to wait too. That is, wow, that is a painful way to
They
lose.
were mesmerized by that. It was perfect. I mean, for how, look, you're betting on the other team not knowing it, not knowing the right rules and not addressing that right. But it was a nicely executed spinning top kick there and all. But they should have jumped on that about 6 yards,
Right, and that was the kicker for Dallas didn't use a tee, just kicked it off the ground. It's kind of a crazy sequence all the way around. Yeah. All right, Dave. Speaking of which week 2 roundup? Any thoughts that you had about a great game to end Sunday Night Football yesterday? Seattle, New England, final play of the game. They run that power with Cam Newton gets stopped, 2 yards short of the goal line in the victory. But overall, a pretty exciting week 2.
I thought to myself, there's no way they're going to just run a keeper to Cam there. No way. Bill Belichick's smarter than that. Josh McDaniels is smarter than that. What they do, they come out heavy and stack it all in tight and expect Superman to be Superman there. So I'm sure Patriots fans are Monday morning quarterbacking the heck out of that one there, because it was definitely there. That game was there for the taking for them overall. Let's see what else struck my fancy. That Bills-Dolphins game seemed to be, as I was tuning in, kind of trying to watch out of the corner of my eye, was a little bit entertaining there. The Titans-Jaguars game, interesting. I can't wait to see that one. The Chargers gave the Chiefs everything they wanted and a little bit more. That one. What about that kicker at the end? Did you see the end of that?
Yeah, I watched Butker, the 53-yarder, and then there was the penalty, and then he had two 58-yarders, the last one that finally counted. I mean, Butker's probably the second best kicker in football, only behind Justin Tucker.
I think so, for sure. Boy, I thought for sure he was going to miss the third one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then Herbert. How about Herbert just playing well for the Chargers? Are they really going to go back to Tyrell Taylor? Is Anthony Lynn really going to do that?
Oh,
you just drafted Herbert. Like, you play Herbert.
I think you owe it to don't go back to Tyrod Taylor, but the moment they get a chance to switch out of him, they will.
Yeah. Weird situation there. Tampa Bay bouncing back with the win over the Panthers, so righted the ship in Tampa Bay. Baltimore beating Houston 33-16, so that finishes off the AFC North, and then of course Cincinnati or Cleveland beating Cincinnati, I should say, in the Thursday night game. The Jets lose. They fall to 0-2. The 49ers still win that one comfortably, even with the many injuries that they had. And the Rams, I got to give the Rams credit. I underrated them, and they are 2-0 after a pretty big win over the Eagles, who fall to 0-2.
Ooh, and the Eagles they're 0-2 against somebody in the division. Who do they get in the division? Either the Browns or the Eagles, or Browns or the Bengals, I think, don't they?
Let me check. I don't know, but yeah, I know I got some buddies out there in Philadelphia, and the radio.
Oh, they get the Bengals and the Eagles. Boy, this might be the Bengals might get a chance at winning one here, and they've been in both their games so far. So that'll be an interesting game for sure. And the Browns will host the Washington football team, and then obviously the marquee matchup. It should be a great game to watch. Monday night, the Ravens host the Chiefs.
Yeah, that one is the one to circle. All right, Dave, let's get to some reader emails and close out the show.
All right, let's see what the email box has to say here. We'll start with the most recent one we got from Richard Hudspeth. With Dotson seeming to hold his own or above that line, what do you do with him? If the Castro is healthy, just sit him for depth. Another question, why is Derek Watt not used more? Look, I don't think you have any choice but to sit Dotson once DeCastro is healthy. It was great to see him come in and play above the line the way that he did, but make no mistake about it, DeCastro is the better option at this moment, assuming once fully healthy. So it's good to know a little bit to get Dotson in and out of a full game there, and see what you have in him. And in the meantime, he can sit and learn on the sideline there. Would you agree, Alex?
Yeah, let's not overthink this one. David DeCastro is going to be the starter when he's healthy. It'd just be comforting to have some good depth with Dotson, and then of course potentially next year with all the free agents to be. Matt Filer notably could elevate Dotson into the lineup. So DeCastro will be the starter whenever he's healthy.
All right, and as far as Derek Watt goes, all right, they're going to Richard, we're fine with putting Derek Watt on the field as long as they'll let the Steelers use 12 or 13 guys on offense. That's about the only way I know how to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, there are still some short yardage situations where I could see him used a little bit more. I don't know. I try not to harp on that stuff too much, but with the way these tight ends are blocking, though, I mean, maybe you get Watt out there, maybe you run some more 21 personnel as opposed to whole personnel.
That's the only way I can maybe see it is more short yardage or red zone type situations here. But who are you going to pull off the field? You know that.
Well, like I said, you instead of 12, you go 21, so you pull one of those tight ends off because you're not blocking anyway.
Yeah, but what if are you just going to run straight power with that or what? I mean, it'd be hard, a little bit harder to get to the edges sometimes, I think. But, yeah, I mean, look, I'd much rather have the fullback on the field than I would two tight ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you have a 250-pound Watt or 225, 230-pound James Conner or Benny Snell or whatever, and you can't get a yard or two in a short yardage situation, I mean, that's on you. That's not on, anything else.
I mean, how many more snaps are we talking about here? 3?
Yeah, it's not many, and it's all situational. I mean, Watt's played. How many snaps has Watts played through his first 2 weeks? 10?
Like 10, 12, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. We'll see how this group looks and how it kind of evolves throughout the season. By the way, a couple other injury notes. Looks like Cortland Sutton's got a significant knee injury, according to Ian Rappaport, and Christian McCaffrey is supposed to be expected to miss multiple weeks with an ankle injury, according to Adam Schefter. So a lot of injuries.
All right. Ben, a.k.a. Steelerhawk 47. Love the podcast, guys. A Sirius XM NFL channel needs to have you guys on for pregame analysis each week. They know nothing about the Steelers. Listen to you guys while I hike, burn about 1,000 calories per per podcast. Hey, we're the new. I can't say Jack LaLanne because Alex won't even know who the hell I'm talking about there.
Nope.
How about Richard Simmons? We're the new Richard Simmons.
I'm with you there. Locked in. I'm glad someone's getting exercise during the podcast. Ain't
it's not me unless you rock it back in this squeaky chair of mine here. All right, we're helping people burn calories, Alex. I don't have the actual stats, hence this email. On medium and long third down, say 3rd and 7 or longer, it seems that more often than not, we throw passes well short of the needed yardage and then just hope for yak. I understand that if it's 3rd and 20, you may not want to just heave it down the field. Is this by design, or are there deeper receivers just not getting separation in these instances? Or our opponents seem to throw the ball at least 8 yards if it's 3rd and 7? Am I just imagining this? I'd have to pull up the stats. I will say this about Ben on and third downs in the chains, at least the last 2 or 3 years. It has seemed like he's, and they call this an Alec, they actually call it an Alex stat. And it was designed, I think, around Alex Smith, who just, for a long time, just would not throw past the chains on third downs. I think you can get these from Football Outsiders. I think they keep an Alex stat tally. You might have to look around for that there. But it does seem at times on 3rd and longs that sometimes they don't throw for the chains. Let me see what they did yesterday, if I can pull that up here. Maybe we'll talk. I don't have that right here in front of me without doing some sorting and all like that. But we'd have to dig down. And look, if you got third, opposing defenses have learned to defend the chains as well too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they know where the marker's at. They don't want you throwing it to the stick, so that may force the underneath throw. Sometimes you got 2.5 seconds to get the ball out if you're a quarterback. Sometimes you got to take the underneath and hope one of your guys can make a play.
The best answer to that is stay out of 3rd and 7 longer.
Ain't that the truth?
We feel you. We feel you, Ben. I understand. I'd have to dig deeper and have these stats in front of me to tell you for sure. P.S. You can tell by the email address that I really wanted the Steelers to draft A.J. Hawk back in the day. That's why he has Steeler Hawk 47. Don't design your email. Don't come up with your email addresses or your Twitter handles pre-draft related.
Yeah, it's good advice.
It's a good rule to live by. Let's see. Seth Bergstein writes in, hey, Dave and Alex, I'm a bit confused on what the staff sees in Jalen Samuels. They stashed away McFarland's home run ability and Smallwood's versatility in favor of him, but he's really just a guy. The first down versus Denver was key, but Smallwood could have given that to you as well. I just do not get why they are stuck on this guy when there are 2 more explosive backs on the roster. Do you guys have a point of view there? Seth, I think we just talked about that earlier in the show there. I'm not married to Jalen Samuels, and I don't think Alex is either. And I think as they get a little bit more comfortable with McFarland here, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Jalen is inactive at some point.
I mean, I would hope that would be the goal. The Steelers are married to Jalen Samuels. I would like them to divorce Jalen Samuels. There is obviously some comfort with his experience and how comfortable he is being able to motion out and play more of a receiver role. But yeah, I think the phrase "just a guy" is a good way to sum it up. And for a run game that's not been the most explosive, I know Connor had that long run yesterday, but still, if you can get some juice to this offense, this run game with a guy like McFarland, that would be a welcome sight in addition. Again, I think Samuels as a receiver has been overrated as a blocker. He's poor as a runner. He's mediocre. So I don't know if it'll get to that point just because they seem to like him so much for that perceived versatility. But I hope that these other guys can start at least getting on the field. I don't want Jalen Samuels to be the reason why Anthony McFarland can't see the field. That's going to be a mistake for the Steelers. I
mean, he's not even close to being in the realm of Mewaldy Moore.
No, not even close. No.
So, pass protection liability still in my mind. Doesn't give you much as a runner.
His hands are bad. As a receiver, his hands are bad.
Right.
Just drops too many.
So, I mean, there you go. I would not. They've got to find a way to look. They found a way to get McFarland dressed. Now they got to find a way to get him on the field, and that's got to come at the expense of the snaps that Jalen's playing, in my opinion. So hold on, Seth. I don't think they're long for Jalen. All right.
We'll see.
Let's see here. Ashley Lawson back from Newcastle. Enjoyed your answers to last week's game, so same again. Which player against the Broncos was the game MVP, underrated player, most looking forward to seeing more of in week 3? So Ashley's doubling down on his great question the other day.
Game MVP. Where do I want to go here? Is it a Hilton? Is it a TJ Watt? Where are you leaning, Dave? Someone on offense? Deontay?
Game MVP. I don't think I can go Ben on this one. I think I'm going to have to go. Man, that was such a big play by Tyrell Edmonds. We don't talk about him very much. How about Watt? Watt was up and down all over those quarterbacks.
Yeah, I'll go Hilton to be a little different. Underrated guy from yesterday's game.
Most underrated player yesterday would have been Kevin Dotson.
Yeah, it's a good one. I'll go. Should I go Edmonds? Is that underrated? I don't, because we haven't talked about that play, that sack a whole lot. I think Dotson's I'll go core 4. You go Dotson. I'll go core 4.
Running a close second to Dotson, I'd probably say James Conner.
Yeah, he looked good.
I mean, to have the percentage of successful plays that he had, and he held on to the football, and he had a short touchdown there. So how about I go underrated players in Conner and Dotson? Will you let me buy on that one?
I'll allow it.
All right. Most looking forward to seeing more of in week 3.
Well, I want to see David Castro out there. I think I said that last week. I'll keep saying that until he's actually back on the field. I've been impressed by Isaiah Buggs. I think he's played well in limited action, rotational snaps, played some nose tackle, played some 4-eye, and I think he's done a nice job against the run.
I guess more of then that would have to be a player that actually played in week 2, so I can't go Anthony McFarland there. How about a little bit more Chase Claypool?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I like Chase Claypool.
All right, just a tiny bit more there. Let's see here. Jonathan Mason writes in, forgive me if y'all covered this before the questions portion. I know it's early, but secondary coverage isn't looking great like I expected after last year's performance. Bush also struggled in coverage against Fan. Do y'all think this is just early season rust that will work itself out? Thanks. Let's not overreact to what we saw. Is it concerning what we saw? Yeah, but let's not overreact to what we saw. Even though it was discouraging, especially to play in the secondary there, let's not overreact to it.
Yeah, I mean, again, you just have to understand offenses are going to have their successes. Driscoll overall, the quarterbacks for Denver yesterday went 19 for 39, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick, were sacked 7 times. You're going to take that most times. And then can you talk about some of the individual plays that you want to have back? Sure. But overall, if you give that stat line every single week, I'm a pretty happy guy.
And the other point brings up Devin Bush. Yeah, look, we talked about that. I mean, it's him and tight ends right now is a little concerning for sure.
But those were good route concepts, especially that touchdown to Fan. I mean, that's a tough play for any linebacker to make.
All right, Cosmo Moore writes in, hi there, Dave and Alex. Listen to the post-game show Sunday. Charlie and Stan got multiple calls and tweets from Yinzers complaining we need more Derek Watt. Okay, Yinzers, which wide receiver you taking off the field? I'd be fine with Watt instead of 2 tight end sets. Yeah, you got us there, Cosmo. I think you don't got to twist our arm there. But Deontay, Washington, and Juju have all contributed significantly, and I think we can all agree we want more snaps for Claypool. Agreed. Watt had a nice block on Connor's big run, but he's not the magic potion to great running game. Adding a fullback, taking out a wide receiver allows the D to go to their base D and get bigger. In 3 wide, teams have to respect Juju in the slot. Calm down, Yinzers, he writes. Love the show. Alu Alu has been great so far. Cosmo, yeah, look, as Alex said, you want to carve out another three snaps maybe for Watt. Get one of those. Get out of that 2. I told you that 2 tight end package was going to be crap, and it is so far. So unless they prove they can block out of that, which I doubt they will, and if they don't want to bring in the extra offensive lineman, to serve as the extra blocker, then okay, put Watt in. But you're still not going to, like it or not, you're not going to line Watt up at the end of the line of scrimmage, all right, and make a tight end out of him. So unless you're going to run some, run some power or something, or some misdirection off of Watt in the game, I mean, you're only talking about 3 or 4 more snaps, I think.
Yeah, it may only be 1 or 2, just one situational play where it's a 3rd and 1 or a goal line play. Because they had that one, 3rd and goal or 2nd and goal run where Connor got stuffed and they ended up having to kick the field goal at the end of the half. I mean, that may be just where Watt gets one or two more plays a game where you're in 21 instead of 12 personnel, and that may be the difference. So anyone who's asking for some sort of Franco or Rocky situation in terms of the fullback distribution isn't going to happen, but there could be a little work to be done there.
Okay, let's see here from Bryce again. As I tweeted to Alex yesterday, number 34 should not be in space to cover. He needs to be treated like a fast linebacker, play closer to the line and blitz a lot more. Love to see Mike Hilton on the blitz, but sometimes I wonder if Keith goes to the well too many times. Love how he changed it up and brought Edmonds instead because the Broncos were not expecting it. Edmonds needs to be moving towards the line of scrimmage a lot more often to be more effective. Your thoughts? It's not much of a question. It's more of a statement, Bryce. Ask us questions. I mean, you're preaching to the choir on a lot of this stuff here. Look, I mean, like it or not, Edmonds is going to be on the field, folks.
Yeah, but I agree with what Bryce said about playing closer to the line and mixing up the blitzes. And does Hilton blitz a little too much? Sure, maybe. He blitzed 9 times against the Giants. He probably did about 9 times against Denver. But I think you just give that constant threat of Hilton blitzing that makes that Edmonds blitz more effective at the end of the game where Hilton bluffs the pressure. So there's a balance there, but Steelers are going to be aggressive, and Hilton does a great job of timing up those blitzes, and they've been pretty successful at it.
And like it or not, there's going to be instances where you're going to have to put Edmonds in coverage.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible in coverage. I mean, he had the one breakup on 3rd down. There was the other 3rd down play on the dump off to the left side where Edmonds, I thought, closed on the ball pretty quickly and helped force the incompletion, I think, to Melvin Gordon. So it's not been great. It's not been terrible either.
His other part of his question here is more about banging on the safeties. Keeping with the theme of safeties, the Steelers only have one safety on the roster that can cover, and that's Minka. These other guys are strictly box players or borderline linebackers who cannot make plays on the football in space. Not sure how they would do it, but cover guys like Cam Sutton need to see more snaps in the future as the defense puts things on. But still, if you put Sutton on the field, you're still probably going to have Edmonds on the field.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're doing some things where Minka will rotate down. Like I know against the Giants, they had Sutton and Hilton rotate to the deep half or deep middle. They did that on at least one snap against the Broncos. So it's hard to find good cover safeties. I mean, those guys are not easy to find. I mean, they don't grow on trees, unfortunately. So it's a point taken. But I do think this team has added safety depth with Sean Davis. Obviously, you had Curtis Riley. He's now in Arizona. But, it could be worse in the safety position.
Not only are good coverage safeties hard to find, good cover strong safeties are even harder to find. Troy Polamalu's not walking through that door anytime soon. All right. Strong safeties, can be a liability sometimes for you. Yeah. I mean, you just got to do a better job sometimes of trying to hide them and work on rotate them and try your best to keep them mostly as box players. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what else to add to this.
Yeah, I agree with the overall principle of what Bryce is saying, but only so much you can do.
Zach writes in, David Alex, long-time listener, first time writing in. All right, congrats from Wisconsin. Zach, first time from Wisconsin. Woohoo! I know Alex was worried about missing Banner in a victory formation, but it looked like Dotson did his best to make up for him. Did you watch the victory snap?
Did he? It didn't feel like anyone did it, but it might have been obscured because Dotson might have been hidden there. I tried to see if someone would honor, quote unquote, Banner for that, but I'll check the all 22. I'll go back and watch a TV tape because that'd be pretty cool if he did.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that. I know we've been assuming that Vince Williams will be gone next year as a cap casualty, but would there be any realistic way to give him maybe a 2-year extension and drop his number? Man, I'm not sure if you want to extend him. I mean, you could, I guess. The realistic way I think Vince stays, maybe if he takes a pay drop down to minimum.
I don't think he's going to do that.
That's.
I don't see what the incentive is for him to do that.
Yeah, but I mean, he's great down. I mean, I even said yesterday, I think on Twitter, I mean, he was lighting matches at one point there,
The question is, though, if he's gone and in some capacity he releases cap casualty, I mean, who replaces him? Because I know UG3 hasn't gotten the hat, and he's more of a Mac linebacker back up to Bush anyway. I mean, who's your guy next to Bush next year?
Yeah,
drafting somebody.
I mean, it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. It's just going to be interesting at that price and the cap situation this team is in. Making Vince work. It's not out of the realm that he stays. And stays at that number. Michael from York, PA writes in, after Snell had such a good week against the Giants, it was rough watching him fumble again. Is this something that is fixable? Also, how long will it be until Ray breaks one? Thank you for all your work. Love the podcast and Monday live stream. Michael.
Thank you, Michael, for enjoying the live stream. We'll do that Monday, 7 p.m. tonight. Ray's looking close, and I got to give credit to McLeod, of course, but the blocking has been much better. This is a unit-wide thing, and you can't have a good return game without good blocking, so kudos to that. And was the first part of the question about Snell, is it fixable? Yeah, I imagine it's fixable. I mean, Snell was not a fumbler at Kentucky, right? I mean, he was not a big fumble guy, so I think it just, some things to work on, but maybe some bad luck as well.
All right, Jay Bobardi writes in about L.J. Fort, along with passing on Kittle for Dobbs, something I will never understand was their problem, what their problem was with L.J. Fort. He's been playing really well for Baltimore. Any ideas? No idea. I mean, other than Philly, paying him more than what the Steelers wanted to pay for a backup when Philly got him, and Philly parted ways with him not too long afterward. Then he ended up in with the Ravens. He says it was frustrating watching the defense blitz after blitz just to get picked apart by a backup. What did you see? I think it was a couple plays. I mean, we already talked about how it was a little bit concerning in that secondary there. But what did you say the overall stats on Driscoll were?
Driscoll went 18 for 34, 256, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. I mean, the dude played well, but overall, I mean, the Broncos quarterbacks were 19 for 39, so under 50% completion percentage, 271 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick, 7 sacks. Again, I understand the concern there, and Driscoll made some really good plays, but, I mean, overall, you take those numbers in today's NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at 2 of his completions, one of them, Bush on the corner. Well, actually, 2 of them. Bush on the corner routes to Fant, and then Vince on the wheel. So, sometimes your inside linebackers are going to get beat there. So, I mean, that was 2 really key completions, or actually 3, with inside linebackers in coverage, and 2 of them resulted in touchdowns.
Yeah, and 2 great catches, Fant on that double catch and Gordon diving. I mean, those are just really fantastic plays by their guys.
So make sure you add context to this now. I mean, once again, they gave up and look, the most concerning thing was the penalties, I think. And the few and the Sutton deep pass, and what was another big play that they got against a corner? Maybe that back shoulder early in the game, 20 yards against Nelson, maybe.
Nelson. Yeah. Again, it's good. It's tough to play defense in today's NFL. I'm not thrilled, but pretty happy with the overall performance of the Steelers defense.
He goes on to write, Jags fans looking at Alu asking where the heck was that all those years? Yeah, look, that guy's played fantastic the last couple of seasons, really has. And going into last year, I kind of wondered maybe if Alu might be, a casualty there. But good thing they held on to. He's played really. He's fantastic right now as a nose. He really is.
Absolutely.
He says, dude, Claypool is he the most physically gifted receiver we've had? I don't know. Juju's pretty physical as well. His special teams too. Now he's 10 times the special teams player Juju was. Actually, Claypool's a physical dude. I mean, he's a beast, man. He's a big kid. Claypool is. He can run.
Did he say physical or physically gifted? What was the question?
Physically gifted.
Okay. Martavis, to me, has been the most physically gifted receiver. Claypool's close, though. I mean, he's a freaky dude. He's up there with Martavis, no doubt about it.
All right, that might be a good stopping point, Alex. I think we powered a lot of email questions here today. So, all right, here we go. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex. Tell them who we got. We got Drew Daughtery, who we've had on the show twice before, covers the Texans. We have him lined up for the Wednesday show to help us start getting ready for the Texans. So make sure you tune in for that. Should be a good interview there. So in the meantime, Alex and I will look over the All-22. We'll talk a little bit about that on Wednesday. We'll start previewing the Texans. You can follow me on Twitter at Steelers Depot. You can follow Alex on Twitter at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do and want to donate to the cause, go to SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button, upright navigational bar. Also, if you want an ad-free version of SteelersDepot.com, listen up closely. $25 for 1 calendar year. Sign up, but make sure when you do sign up, you're creating a username and a password when you do that. Write your username and password down, because after you register for that, you have to click the login button up there in the navigational bar. I get a lot of people say, I paid for the ad-free, but I'm still getting ads. The way you make the ad-free version of the site work is you got to click that login up there in the upper right navigational bar and then enter your username and your password, and that gets you into the ad-free version. Merely signing up and paying for the ad-free version does not get you the ad-free version. There's no champagne in the champagne room also, for those of you asking. You know that one, don't you, Alex?
A little bit. I'm not going to take a guess at it on the air, though.
No, but in all honesty there, if you sign up for the ad-free version, make sure you write your username and password down and click that login button, and that's how you get the ad-free version. All right. In the meantime, we'll be back on, let's see, what day is it? We'll be back on Wednesday. So as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.